what I found just in HR is just getting these people on like our podcast and talking to them. I just learned about how, people run manufacturing companies, how people hire people in manufacturing companies, how people hire people overseas, how people hire or, work on performance management to keep their employees engaged on a day-to-day basis.
Do you think you've learnt about HR insofar as HR from a business owner's perspective, by being involved in this business? Because I know we're going to move on to talk about things like building remote teams and I guess HR departments. But is that something you've learned more about because you had this business and it's been like an accidental side effect, or have you learned that kind of stuff from running the businesses anyway?
Yeah, I've learned it from just being in this business. So like I always say, like, to people that are entrepreneurs that want to be entrepreneurs, I always tell them, like, if you're just looking at the numbers and the money and everything, that's great, but a lot of that can be long term. I mean, you might be 10 years until you're really seeing an exit or seeing fruit from the labor that you're putting in. And one of the key things for me being an entrepreneur is you're lucky that you get to just work on things that interest you. So, but what might be interesting to you should be like the day-to-day work. So for me, just getting to know HR, like, what is HR? I have no idea. It sounds super boring. It sounds like something I had no interest in before. But if you just get into like the minutia of it and you start talking to these people on like our podcast, I always just say to entrepreneurs, like, the key to being an entrepreneur is just being interested. Just stay interested in whatever's in front of you that day. It might be super boring. It might be just doing bookkeeping or reviewing, tax code. But if you don't find interest in these like little things, it's going to be hard to, keep pushing that boulder up the hill for 5 to 10 years until you really hit pay dirt. So what I found just in HR is just getting these people on like our podcast and talking to them. I just learned about how, people run manufacturing companies, how people hire people in manufacturing companies, how people hire people overseas, how people hire or, work on performance management to keep their employees engaged on a day-to-day basis in businesses that are not, you're not working at a sexy tech startup. You're like working at a very boring, like, local furniture manufacturer. And it's like, how do you keep your employees engaged? Because it's important. Like, in today's market, people talk about AI and what's in the future, but like, people are running these businesses and they're the key engine and motor of any business's growth. So we learn about that through the HR people.